This is Felt Recoil.
Welcome to the Felt Recoil Podcast, episode number 39. Can you believe that, Hulon? Hulon, number 39, man.
It's getting hard to believe
It is.
that I keep coming over here and doing this.
In fact, if I could just take a quick minute and tell you a little something. Good news, bad news, Chris. Good news is your podcast seems cool. Bad news is you can be doing it alone from this point forward. All right, my name is Chris. Across from me is
Patrick.
That's the part where you say your name. We'll get there.
I'm gonna figure this thing out sooner or later.
I was just noting we are 13 episodes shy of our 1 year mark of doing this. I'm pretty excited about that, man. Congrats to us. Thanks to you, by the way. Our Larry Vickers podcast, it continues to be the most popular podcast we've ever had. Really appreciate all the social sharing we've seen of it. And this is true. It's so out of control with the Larry Vickers downloads that I contacted the hosting service that provides the analytics for our podcast and said, look, I'm just a southern boy from South Carolina. I ain't no big city slicker. I don't know nothing about these computers. Are the downloads accurate? Because I feel like I feel like Larry Vickers used his Larry Vickers ninja power and made it look like all these thousands upon thousands of people are listening. And they said, yeah, the analytics are right. There have been that many downloads.
They emailed you back and they're like, well, you did put it on the line.
Yes.
So it's on the line, and people are now going to download the interwebs.
It's funny. I had a friend catch me listening to the Larry Vickers episode. I was driving to pick him up, and he hopped in the car, and I was listening. He goes, are you really listening to your own podcast? Like, weren't you there for it? I said, yeah, but it's Larry Vickers. Like, I'm not listening for me. I wanted to hear his answers.
It's like the Aziz Ansari bit where he's talking about he goes over to Kanye's house and he like plays his own album.
Yes.
And he's just like nodding his head.
Yeah. You are Kanye. All right, lots to get to this week. Obviously, we're going to talk Charlottesville. There's nothing good coming out of Charlottesville. There's nothing good, but there is a lesson to be learned, as with everything in life. Also, a new segment this week. I've decided we're going to do this every week. It's going to be called...
I'm excited about this because we've been talking about it for a while.
Our Voda of the Week. Our Voda of the Week. If you don't know, Voda, that's Victor Oscar Delta Alpha, VODA, Voda Consulting, or Voda Tactical, or now Voda Logic. These are all the names he's had to use because the firearms community trolls
crap suit out of him every couple weeks.
No, he gets shut down. The firearms community trolls him so hard that Facebook and YouTube and everything else keep shutting his accounts down. So he's having to open new pages and new emails. Anyway, this is a guy who you've definitely seen videos of. Especially you've seen people making fun of him. He is infamous for a training video he released of himself and participants in his class using actual guns and pointing them at each other and just creating really, really bad habits. The NRA, listen, I love the NRA, and I really think you should support the NRA. I'm a life member of the NRA. But it doesn't take a lot to get certified by the NRA to be an instructor. That's just a fallacy that exists for the sake of insurance.
$65, I think, is pretty much the threshold.
You go take a quick class, you get NRA certified. It is if someone says to you, "I'm a certified NRA instructor," you don't. If that's their only thing on the resume, like, don't take the class. Okay, I promise we're getting to the charity of the week here in just a second. By the way, I have not forgotten, but I would be remiss if I don't provide you just a bit more details about Voda. Voda had his NRA certifications revoked. Like, the NRA looked at him and said, for instance, remember this? Do you remember the nice black lady who seemed to have the best of intentions in the world, but she had like the cheap Black Hawk leather holster and a high point pistol? Yep. She was in South Carolina, and she was on YouTube making videos about, how to defend yourself and come take my class. Probably not the class I would recommend you take, but listen, if she has something to teach you that you didn't know before, then, take the class. But here's my point. She was NRA certified. That's an NRA certified instructor. So
She's not pointing guns at you, though.
they let her keep hers, but to Voda, they say no. And rightfully so, because as you said, Voda is literally pointing guns at his students and saying, don't worry, it's not loaded. You have to trust me. It's cringe-worthy YouTube watching, but it's so much fun. It's such... I would call it a guilty pleasure, except I don't feel bad about it. I just flat out enjoy it. It's pleasurable. Anyway, so we're going to do Voda of the Week, and we're going to kick it off by allowing Voda to be the Voda of the Week. So Voda of the Week...
Seems fitting.
Yeah. Voda of the Week will be our dumb person every week that we discover, our people are stupid type thing, where we just find these absurd stories. I've actually already got one for next week.
I feel like this is going to be the easiest segment we ever do.
If we could do an entire podcast called Voda of the Week, that'd probably be the easiest job we could ever have. All right. 6 minutes in, I should probably tell you about our charity of choice. This week, our charity of choice is Folds of Honor. Folds of Honor's mission since 2007 has been to carry forth the noble mission of providing educational scholarships to spouses and children of America's fallen and disabled service members. The motto says it best: honor their sacrifice, educate their legacy. Please visit foldsofhonor.org to learn more about the mission of Folds of Honor and help support the families of our heroes. There's so many options out there. We try and give you a different one every week on ways you can support the people who have protected us, our lives, and our liberties. The time is of the essence on these things because I fear... not to be too Glenn Beck about it, but the world is ending tomorrow, and if you'll tune in, I'll tell you more.
And buy my $700 jeans.
But also, I do fear that we're running out of time to preserve the legacy of America in general. So let's honor their sacrifice and educate their legacy. Visit foldsofhonor.org and find out how you can help support the educational goals and needs of the spouses and children of America's fallen and disabled service members. Interesting point of note. You know another company that pays for the college expenses of the spouses and children of military veterans that work for them? It's not Black Rifle Coffee Company. It's Starbucks. It wasn't ever going to be a question. I know you thought it was going to be a question, but there was no question.
That's why I didn't bother answering.
I wanted to point it out. I don't like liars. If you're going to lie and exaggerate, at least have your facts straight. What? That wouldn't make any sense. Okay. We are, honest to God, reeling over Charlottesville. The country as a whole is just in a panic. And it's been 3 days now, maybe 4, since it happened, as you listen to this. And I would beg you and implore you to take a deep breath, and calm down about Charlottesville. And I'm going to tell you why. The overall thing to take away from Charlottesville is that Charlottesville actually embraces vile and repugnant racism. The people of Charlottesville are totally okay with vile and repugnant racism, okay? Do not let them tell you differently. And if you think that sounds crazy, I'm going to start by introducing you to a man named Wes Bellamy. You've probably never heard this name before. But Wes Bellamy is not only a member of the Charlottesville City Council, he is the quote-unquote vice mayor of the city. You become vice mayor in Charlottesville by being appointed that by the city council. Okay? Got it? Wes,
is that equivalent to like the city manager? I guess I don't know what that means. What is a vice mayor?
Who knows? Who cares? Here's the point.
Hell, I don't even know what mayors do. So
yeah, me neither. Except hold office for 30 years in Greenville, South Carolina, and knock down poor people's houses so you can build a bridge. But whatever. Let's not talk about it. It looks nice. We're the most liberal, conservative town in the world. The people here love big government, but they hate to admit it. It's just the way it is. And I'm not saying that, but I love Greenville, South Carolina. I love where we live. I love our town. But I find it kind of comical. This has kind of been my overwhelming theme this week, so it fits. Our principles are so malleable depending on who's violating them. Isn't that a strange thing to consider? We all have principles, and we all want to say, I am a stand-up guy, and I would never allow this. Oh,
and suddenly you get real flexible.
Yeah, wait a second.
Depending on who's putting the boot to you.
Come again? Oh, really? Okay. Oh, No. If he's doing it, no problem. I'm trying to remember. In fact, I'm trying to remember what is the mayor's name here? Walt Maddox. Sure. Samsonite. I was way off. He jumped on the bandwagon of racism isn't welcome here, by the way, which I thought was so funny.
I don't know what the mayor does, so I don't bother learning his name.
Well, it's one of those things. Knox White. See, I had it backwards. Knox White. He's been the mayor since 1995.
Why not?
Okay. He's been the mayor since I was 14 years old. I'm 36 now. Get out of office, Knox. You have an obligation to the people to go, you know what? You need to allow other ideas in here. I'm not the only one that can do this. Anyway, either way, the people keep putting him there. They don't want to, blah, blah. All right. He got out there and said, racists have no home in South Carolina. And it's funny because, or in Greenville, racists have no place here. But nobody did that. Nobody did that when Antifa was in downtown Greenville and when Black Lives Matter stormed the local highway here and wouldn't let people drive down the street. Nobody said, hey, stop being racist and stop being mean to people. Stop assassinating and executing police officers at your rallies. Okay? 5 dead police officers at a Black Lives Matter event in Dallas.
Including maybe the president?
Not a peep. Yeah, and when was he ever quick? That's everybody's thing. But so the thing I've been going to all week in my head is it's just funny how nobody seems to care about their principles. You're tearing down monuments. I'll tell you a quick personal story. I was probably 30. I was unemployed. It's kind of a common theme in my life. But I've been doing a news talk radio show in southern Georgia. I got laid off. They ended up shutting the whole station down, but they laid me off first. I was the first of all of them and had, quote unquote, eliminated my position. And so I was a little bored. And then this story came out of my hometown here in Greenville that a gentleman had attempted to force his way into a church with a shotgun, Trey Pennington. Trey Pennington was a local social media guru in Greenville, South Carolina. And Trey went into a church where his estranged wife and children were, who, by the way, where are you in life when a church has a restraining order issued against you? Well, wherever that is, that's where Trey Pennington was. So here's the church's official account. Trey goes into the church, scopes it out, leaves. 2 ushers or so, a couple guys, go and watch him leave. He goes to his car and removes a shotgun from the trunk of his car and starts heading back towards the church. And they are all in the sanctuary watching this unfold in the middle of downtown Greenville, by the way, big church. And he comes back towards the church. They lock the front doors, move everyone out of the sanctuary downstairs for safety reasons. He's trying to get back in. Draw your own conclusion. I say this with no evidence to support it except what I've told you. Trey Pennington was there to kill his family. And probably innocent people. A lot of people hate me for that statement, and that's the point of this story. So Trey had a lot of friends in in Greenville, especially. He was big in social media, and people liked him. And I'm sure he might have been a nice guy before he turned into a monster, but ultimately this guy became a monster. The end of the story is that he went in front of the church. The police had been called. The police show up and surround him, and he shoots himself with his shotgun and bleeds out and dies. So at least only he was hurt that day is the way I look at it. You got a guy who's hell-bent on what I would suggest pretty obvious evidence he was there to kill other people, and luckily only he died that day. Well, YFF, the local news affiliate, runs a story saying he committed suicide out front of this church, and though we don't normally cover suicides, he was a friend of WYFF News 4, and so Nigel Roberts, the local news guy, does a little eulogy for old Trey Pennington on the news. So I go on Twitter, and I find that the other guy, Michael Cogdill, has this long back and forth, kind of online relationship, a friendship, if you will, with Trey, where Trey has talked to Michael about meeting in person and hanging out and doing these things. So I'm telling you all this. It ties together, I promise. I got a ton of grief. You name the person in my life outside of my wife. And I'm telling you, from my mom to my brother to everyone else, tons of grief over the fact that I had on my blog, which was somewhat popular, had a few followers at the time, because again, I was unemployed, and this is what I was devoting my time and effort to. I got so much flack. My family was on vacation at the beach, calling me, telling me to delete the post, don't say things like that, this man just died. What I did that nobody else bothered to do, by the way, was to email the church. The local news station, the TV guys, they can't do this much. They can't even email the church. But I emailed the church. I said, hey, do you have an official account of what happened at your church the other day? And the response was, yes, right here. And the response came in, and it was an article that relayed everything I just laid out for you about how Trey tried to come back into the church with a shotgun. I am supposing, there is no evidence to back this up, that man was going into the church that had a restraining order against him where he knew his wife and kids were to kill his wife and children. Luckily, he wasn't able to. He died, which you can call unfortunate if you want to, but I won't. He's dead, but his wife and kids survive. So much flack, so much flack, so much flack. Now, follow that with the fact that the city of Greenville, so his brother, this is what happens. His brother starts to brag about the fact that they're going to put a bench in memorial for Trey in the park downtown. And I publicly said, I'll tear the bench apart every time you put it up. Because attempted murderers who shoot themselves on the streets of Greenville don't get memorials in downtown parks. I'll go there and tear it down. So, why does this matter? How does it relate? Here's why I feel like it matters. That was a moment in my life where I felt like, here's the principal issue. This man tried to murder his family. Again, that's my opinion. I hope I'm very clear. I can't say for certain, but that's certainly what it seems happened. He tried to murder his family, and everyone around him is trying to erase that by pretending he was this great guy who would never harm a fly. No one is telling you the truth because that's their friend. Their principles don't matter because their friend violated them. You're telling me if someone tried to walk into, and Nigel Roberts is black, okay, and so I'm going to play the race card here. You're telling me that if Dylan Roof had walked into Charleston and tried to kill those people and then walked outside because he was unable to and shot himself and died, you're telling me Nigel Roberts would have eulogized Dylan Roof on WYFF? Absolutely not. Because it's not a friend of his violating his principles. That's a slack-ass kid in Charleston with mental issues who didn't deserve anybody talking about him. So when you dig deep into Charlottesville and you think about the principal issue here is the fact that we're all crying foul over, suddenly, again, racism in America. And isn't it a funny thing that everybody's problem about racism in America seems to be that white people aren't listening? Right? That's what everybody keeps like, we need to talk about this. We need to talk about this. Okay, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Wes Bellamy is the vice, and listen, if you happen to be listening to this with your kids in the room, just turn it off and come back later, okay? If you're offended by coarse language, I would stop right now. Stop right now, because I'm going to read these tweets verbatim because they deserve to be read. Because, again, it might offend you, but the principle at stake here is, does Charlottesville care about racism?
Try me.
Okay. All right. So, the Daily Wire published an article that claims the man who organized the white supremacist rally in Charlottesville also actually helped organize Occupy Wall Street rallies in his area, and was a strong supporter of President Barack Obama.
Hey.
Yeah. Somewhere around a year ago, they say he kind of got himself into some mental issues and kind of flew the coop. Violent people supporting leftist causes is nothing new. But here's a part of the article that raised my eyebrow. Kessler, the organizer, began to become increasingly active in the white nationalist scene in Charlottesville and online. Kessler is a UVA graduate, graduated in 2009. He began to really make a name for himself in the area through his opposition to Charlottesville Vice Mayor and City Councilman Wes Bellamy, which the Southern Poverty Law Center notes is the city's only black councilman at the time. Kessler's campaign against Bellamy, who had organized a press conference calling for the removal of the Robert E. Lee statue that was at the center of the Unite the Right rally, resulted in the unearthing of what the Southern Poverty Law Center describes as sexist, homophobic, and bigoted tweets. They left out racist, because they don't want you to know what's really about to come your way.
No, come on.
So this was a publicity win for Kessler. The councilman had issued these tweets. I wasn't clear on that. So West Bellamy is trying to take down the Robert E. Lee statue, and Kessler comes around, and even the far left activists at the Southern Poverty Law Center say Bellamy's tweets are sexist, homophobic, and bigoted. Kessler launches a campaign demanding Bellamy step down, a petition that got tossed out, but not before Kessler punched a guy in the face while trying to get signatures, an action that got him arrested with misdemeanor assault. That's where it ends, okay? So I thought, wait a second. Who is Wes Bellamy? Who is he? Still the vice mayor of Charlottesville? Well, it turns out he is. Turns out when those things came to light, I don't think he won election, because that was 2009. He was elected in 2013. If I'm understanding correctly, if I'm not, please go to feltrecoilshow.com and tell me where I'm getting it wrong. So what got West in trouble in 2009? Twitter. Particularly tweets about his dislike for white people and faggots. His word, not mine. Okay? That's not a word I use as a habit. White people and faggots. Here's a few vulgar examples, courtesy of the Cavalier Daily. You can read this, by the way, at feltrecoilshow.com/blog. feltrecoilshow.com/blog. In an October 2011 tweet, Bellamy answered a question prompted by another user. Question: does it make males uncomfortable when girls are so upfront about sex? Wes Bellamy replies, only makes faggots uncomfortable. In a separate tweet, in December of 2009, he wrote, quote, I don't like white people, so I hate white snow. FML. F my life, if you don't know. Another one of Bellamy's tweets from October 2011 commented word on a tweet describing sexual assault on a sleeping woman that ends with the phrase, if she moans, it ain't rape. And Bellamy's response was, word. Bellamy isn't just a racist, misogynist homophobe. He works as a mentor with 100 Black Men of America, a group dedicating to helping young black boys grow up to be the antithesis of Wes Bellamy. This is a nonprofit organization that goes out and works with underprivileged children to try and help them have a better life, and this is the piece of trash they're allowing to do that. Ironic? Maybe. Racist? For sure. President Trump has been crucified for saying both sides in Charlottesville were violent, and despite the fact that the same group represented in Charlottesville once executed 5 police officers in Dallas, threw Molotov cocktails at officers in Ferguson, Missouri, and burned Baltimore to the ground. Despite all those things, we're not allowed to call the Black Lives Matter activists what they are. Racist nationalists. No different than the guys with the tiki torches. And quite frankly, as repulsive as they are as well. Again, back to, do your principles move because of the people violating them? I don't know anybody willing to say that the Black Lives... Okay, let me rephrase. I don't know many black Americans willing to say the Black Lives Matter movement is a racist nationalist movement. But there's a ton of white people who are saying that these guys in Charlottesville were racist, white supremacist nationalists.
And where was the media? Because they started calling President Trump out early Saturday, saying, well, you know, he hasn't denounced this terrorist, racist event.
Right.
And so they're just beating him to death. Days into Ferguson. Days into Baltimore. Mm-hmm. What did President Obama do? Nothing. He did nothing. And no one said a word. There wasn't a freaking peep.
I'll tell you what he did. He called the police stupid. He said they acted stupidly. He said his son would have looked like Trayvon. And he was, at the very least, sympathetic to the family of Michael Brown, who we now know was trying to murder a police officer when he got shot in pure self-defense by the officer. One of the key takeaways here, by the way, as long as we're talking about the media and it's just lack of real principle here, one of the key takeaways is the fact that we should collectively be terrified that the realization comes from, Patrick, this is what you were just saying. When the media jumps all over Trump because he didn't immediately denounce white supremacy, which I don't understand why he had to.
He did denounce it. He just didn't denounce it by name.
Right. Yeah.
And they still have their panties in a twist over it.
Yep.
Still, to this point. And he did eventually, I guess, a day or two later, and I think essentially he caved to the media pressure.
Yeah.
He actually called those organizations your neo-Nazis, the Klan, etc. Called them out by name.
But isn't that a little telling? Okay, so he comes out and he goes, man, there's violence on both sides. We need to condemn it. We need to get it out of America. No more violence from either side. And the media goes, whoa, whoa, whoa. Which side specifically? Well, both sides. Whoa, 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 whoa. Which side specifically? Because what the media wants you to believe is that there was no violence or agitation from the other side. They want you to think that the only violence that happened was from the white supremacists.
Well, if they don't tell you that there was, then there wasn't. That's basically how it works.
Okay, and that's exactly right. Because
that's what they're doing.
And
let's be honest.
What are they doing otherwise? Just as you just mentioned, what are they doing otherwise? They're blackmailing the people and they're blackmailing the president. What we learned this week, probably the most important takeaway of anything, is that if you do not placate the political ideology of the mainstream media, they will crucify you. You must play along with them. And I think that's important to understand because it should show you that the media, just like the government, bedfellows together, does not care about you.
And that's why, but see, that is exactly why they're so twisted up about Trump, because he doesn't give a crap about playing their little games.
Yep.
Because he'll call them fake news to their face and basically, in a nicer way than this, tell them to shut up.
I can't recall a specific time in Barack Obama's presidency where he immediately denounced fundamental Islam as the culprit in a terrorist attack on American soil. Not after Boston, not after Fort Hood, not after San Bernardino.
After a lot of those events, he did immediately pick a 7-iron. So there's that.
Exactly that. And he, by the way, he had, and he was elected the first time, when? 2008? He had 7 years to establish in his own mind the fact that fundamental Islamic ideology murdered 3,000 people on September 11th, 2001. Yeah, every time they came here and murdered more innocent people, he stayed mute. I mean, he's just mute as can be. Nothing to be said except, well, hate and violence exists in all forms and shapes across this country, and
Did you see the tweet from Eric Holder?
No.
This would have been 4 days ago now. So day of Charlottesville.
Okay.
Eric Holder, who I don't know if he's active on Twitter because I'm not really on Twitter, but I heard about this one through the grapevine. He says, if ISIS rammed a car into a crowd, this would be labeled quickly and logically. Charlottesville. Call it what it is. Domestic terrorism. And he is getting absolutely roasted on Twitter from every direction because everybody's, it's basically they're calling him out on the whole Fort Hood shooting.
Yeah.
Because that was workplace violence.
But wait.
That was just a disgruntled office guy.
This is the guy.
San Bernardino?
Yep.
Hey, that guy, there were some bullies in that office, and they were being rude to him.
This is the guy who was in charge of the Justice Department when a group of Black Panther nationalists, a group known for murdering people, known for its violence in the streets, known for its absolute hate of white people, stood outside of a polling place in Pennsylvania with clubs in hand, stood outside and asked white people who they were voting for in order to intimidate them, a federal crime. This is the man who dismissed the charges. And you're going to lecture us about domestic terrorism and racism. You are a racist. You are a thorough through and through racist.
He couldn't utter the words terrorism while he was in office. Especially not Islamic terrorism.
Right.
But suddenly, because there's some Klan guys upset, well, now we're going to use that term.
Yep.
I don't disagree that they are terrorists as well, okay? Let me be real up front.
Listen.
If you're in the Klan, you're probably a terrorist, okay?
But isn't that the thing? It should go without saying. It is absurd that the media, and that was kind of the joke I was trying to make there, the bigger point being, well, which side? What do you mean? the hateful side, the guys in robes. It should go without saying that as the Klan shows up, we think they're idiots. We think they're racists. We think they're hateful people who are misguided. But I'll tell you something. This is going to sound really crazy, but here's a defense for the Klan. You ready? The Klan hasn't murdered people that we know of publicly for a very long time. They are a small fringe element. They are probably less than half of a percentage of this population. But the Black Lives Matter movement is murdering cops in the streets during their protests.
It's like a joke a while back about, like, if you were at a Klan rally, you know, like 11 of the 12 guys are actually undercover FBI agents. Because it's such a small organization now.
Right. There's nobody
At one time
involved.
it was huge in this country.
Once Democrat Senator Robert Byrd retired, it really just wasn't any reason. Once he was dead and in the ground. Breitbart has a great article today about all the Democratic monuments they'll have to tear down now that they're angry about all the racists. And they're all Democrats. And there's a great irony in the fact that these are Democrats. The KKK, as I've said before here, and I'll say it again many, many times in my life, when you see a Confederate flag, ask that person how long they've been voting Democrat. And it will drive them crazy, but it'll prove they don't know their history. Well, it's not the same thing. It absolutely is. I'll prove it to you. There's an entire episode called The History of the Democrats that you can go download from Felt Recoil, and they lay it out for you. And your friend will go, well, I don't believe those guys. And you go, just trust me. Episode number 25, History of the Democrats. Please go download it at feltrecoilshow.com. And your friend will be like, okay. And then they'll thank you later because it's a great little show.
I just looked it up just because I was curious. The Southern Poverty Law Center right now puts the Klan at somewhere between 5,000 and 8,000 members nationwide. And that probably sounds like a lot of people.
It's not.
It's really not.
It's less than live probably in the surrounding neighborhoods of my house.
At their peak, though, in the 20s, there was hundreds of thousands, right? I mean, I don't know for sure.
I see. Well, okay, I don't know. And listen, I would never want to make it where it was like the Klan of the 1870s and 1880s. There's no lightheartedness about that. Those were evil, evil people. As you'll find in episode number 25, History of the Democrats, there's congressional testimony sworn under oath from Democratic members of Congress saying the KKK are our people. This is an extension of the Democratic Party. We finance it. We coordinate them. And listen, be real clear here. Was the KKK a racist organization? Absolutely, always and forever. But what's its secondary purpose? To suppress conservative voting. That's why it was established, because black people were free. Republicans were fighting for their right to vote. And the Klan said, if black people can vote, or the Democrats said, if the black people can vote, they won't vote for us. So they intimidated them with the Klan, and now they intimidate them with the idea that, well, you need to live on the government system, and if you don't elect me in the office, then Republicans will get in, and they won't want you on the system because they
take
hate
it
you.
all away.
Yeah.
So I had to know. And it is true that in the 20s, they were at their peak. Take a guess.
100,000.
Try 4 million.
Whoa, no way.
4 million people in the United States were active members in the Klan in the 1920s.
Bunch of stupid people. I once worked at a top 40 station and had a guy call, and it may have been just a joke or something, but I remember him saying he was in the Klan and they were coming up to get me for playing that music. And I was like, and I used it, which was the best part, because I was like, oh, you guys gonna put your robes and hoods on and come have a little Halloween party in the parking lot? And he was getting really mad, and I was like, I mean, I'm so scared, and I just gave him a hard time about not using my sheets. They're probably still dirty, kind of thing. And I thought it was so funny, but there's no bravery in having to put your hood on and go out with all your boys into the street and intimidate people. Just as there's no bravery in needing a mob of people to tear down a statue. Just as there's no bravery in needing a mob of people to storm the streets, occupy a space, and then rape women and murder police officers. These are all things that Occupy Wall Street and Black Lives Matter have done that the president at the time, Barack Obama, just was completely quiet on. Completely quiet. The man never had a negative word to say about Occupy Wall Street or the Black Lives Matter movement.
And somehow he managed to make it through a weekend without the media losing their collective minds.
What? He's in Hawaii again? Look, we had a president who stayed quiet while a group of people encouraged by the violent rhetoric of a known would-be cop killer, Michael Brown, when his family told them to burn this bitch to the ground in Baltimore or in Ferguson, and then they did it. What did the president say about that? I don't remember a huge campaign from the president in the media telling those people to stop being so racist.
I still don't know how that guy didn't get arrested for inciting a riot.
He should have. That was his stepdad, I believe. In fact, he didn't get arrested. He got like $1 million, remember?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Just
Good
recently.
Grief. And so where was the media? Molotov cocktails in Ferguson. Where was the media on that? This is the media. So just remember, the media that we're talking about disenfranchised its own people if they were willing to talk about the fact that President Obama, a black guy, and Attorney General Eric Holder, another black guy, in coordination with the FBI and ATF, forced law-abiding business owners to break federal law and sell guns to minorities who the government knew were using them to kill other minorities. These guys the guns that they sold to these guys would later be found at crime scenes in Mexico and in America. And in one instance was used to kill nearly 100 Mexicans, and in another was definitely used to kill an American border security guard, Brian Terry. Yep. So the program put in place by Obama and Holder, called Fast and Furious, the worst you can find it labeled by the mainstream media, is controversial. But it got countless numbers of minorities killed. Countless numbers of minorities, and federal law was ignored. Dead, because two black men sold guns to minorities that they knew were killing each other and then did nothing about it. Nothing.
And several of those guns are still out there.
Do I care that they were black and that they sold them to minorities? No. But that is the principle at stake today, right? The principle at stake is, do we care about
race
racism?
Is everything. Race is everything now. Right?
It is your, wait for it, trump card.
Oh!
You see what I did? You see what I did? It's the ultimate trump card. Yes, absolutely.
When you're not getting your way.
When played correctly.
When you're not getting your way, you throw it out there.
Absolutely.
And it's not that that's a new concept. It's not that the race card has never been played before.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's like the one and only. It's the last bastion of hope for Democrats, I think.
The race.
Yeah.
It is an amazing time to watch America fall apart. And I just feel like it's exactly what's happening. This is if this is the tipping point, then the media has to admit that it's complicit in driving us kind of to the precipice of it.
Is it really the tipping point, or does the media just want us to think it's the tipping point? And the reason why I say that is because if you take let's get a 30,000 foot view of Charlottesville. Mm-hmm. You had a whole bunch of people there, and had it not been for the guy that ran people over, potentially no one would have died.
Right.
So my point in saying that is, if this were this race war that the media wants you to believe that it is, where is the violence beyond guys whacking each other with sticks and throwing balloons filled with urine at each other?
Yeah.
Because that's really all I'm seeing out of it. So if things were really to what I consider a legitimate boiling point, people would probably be shooting one another.
I see what you're saying.
So,
like all-out war type scenario.
Right. So that's why I just don't see it as I'm not trying to take anything away from it.
Right.
I'm not forgiving it. This is not my blessing. They're all a bunch of idiots. But it could be a lot worse, right?
Well, yeah, it could. But here's the thing. For this young lady who died at 32 years old, shouldn't have died. And you can't imagine the grief of her family at all. But the media has done a disservice to her and her family in their hypocrisy, in the sense that you would be so sad. You're sad for her anyway. No parent should ever have to bury their child, so you're sad for them. And you're sad that such a wonderful place on earth, America really is the greatest place you can live on earth. It absolutely is. So that it's devolved into the chaos that was Charlottesville is kind of sickening in a way. But my point is that I think the media has so much more to account for in that chaos. And I think I'm just kind of expanding on your point here, Patrick, where this is a media who wants to play it like Black Lives Matter, well, we can understand and sympathize, but then they don't critique them. They don't tell them how outrageous they're being, how murdering police officers is unacceptable. They put people on the television like Van Jones, who openly teaches that the United States government murdered 3,000 people on 9/11. That's a firm belief of Van Jones, and yet CNN employs him. It's shocking. But the media is able to quickly have no culpability in the matter by just kind of ignoring it. Like you mentioned earlier, they just ignore it. If they don't say it, it's not true. And that is the problem. What the media wants is for you to live in a bubble where you consume their media and do nothing else. So
if you don't believe that, just follow Twitter. Just have their app and get their their updates. They are so unapologetic now.
It's unhinged.
It is unreal, the stuff that they're putting out there.
Unhinged.
I think I saw one today saying that 5 of the chiefs of staff.
I'll read it.
Yeah,
yes.
Go ahead.
I have it for you, and yes, you're exactly right.
It's so absurd. I read it and I thought, wow, they just don't care anymore.
So it's from CNN. It says, top brass warns recruits. It's rare for military leaders to speak at odds with the president. 5 joint chiefs have publicly condemned hate groups since Charlottesville. So what is that implying? The implication is that if you denounce white supremacy...
Is that Donald Trump is promoting this crap.
Exactly. Well, yes, this crap, meaning if you denounce white supremacy, you are at odds with the President of the United States. That's what this is saying.
Even though he has come out in a press conference and through his Looney Tunes Twitter account,
which is fun,
and publicly denounced it. So he's done it more than once. But somehow I think what they really want is they want all these people who they live in that bubble where they go, I'm not going to look at Fox News. I'm only going to look at CNN, and I'm only going to believe everything they say.
Absolutely.
And they're going to believe it verbatim, and so they're bought into this hook, line, and sinker.
The best one is from this morning. Analysis. Not opinion, by the way, analysis. The president's failure. Donald Trump is who we thought he was. That person is the opposite of a leader, and that person is dangerous to this country's well-being. This is fuel on the fire. This is fuel.
Oh, yeah.
So here's the thing. Another important thing to take note of is when the Charlottesville march, or whatever it was supposed to be, when that protest was beginning to happen with the white supremacists, I saw a lot of people joking about the fact that they wouldn't go to black neighborhoods with that because the black people would, quote-unquote, handle it. Which is a strong implication that black people are violent and would beat those people up. So, okay, let's just agree that white people aren't welcome in black neighborhoods. Is that what you're trying to say? Oh, just white supremacists aren't welcome. Fine. Okay, I get it. So it's a funny joke that they wouldn't be allowed in black neighborhoods. But then one of these jackasses drives his car into a crowd of people and kills someone who didn't need to die that day. And he does the unthinkable, unnecessary, and unspeakable thing of murdering someone who was just there doing whatever she was doing. Who knows, okay? I don't care if she was throwing balloons of urine on people. It doesn't mean you kill her with your car. It just doesn't matter. But
not to say that she was.
Right. No. I don't know what she was doing there. But you can't ignore the idea that now if you've joked about, well, we would get violent, these are the people that believe that. You're talking to white supremacists who believe that if they walk through a black neighborhood, those people will get violent, so they have to kill them first. And so what happened? They killed one of them first. So you actually are a player in exactly what I'm condemning, this charade by the media. What the media hopes is that you wake up in the morning and you read, like you said, their information and their information alone, that you then go to your cubicle and sit for 8 hours, and then you come home and you have a meal with maybe your wife or girlfriend or whomever it is. You veg out and watch some TV, and then you read their information again at night. how absurdly in a bubble could you possibly be, right? So
it's almost this bubble is ironclad now, though.
Oh,
and
yeah.
That's the funny part. And again, not to go just rehash this, but that to me, that is why Trump is in the Oval Office now. Mm-hmm. It's because they created this bubble, and they're so stupid to think, well, we'll just reinforce it. We'll just keep doing this, and we're just going to turn it up to 11. And that's somehow going to fix things. I think all it's going to do is further divide, and it's going to further push people away from that rhetoric and go, okay, well, this sounds kind of crazy, so I don't want anything to do with CNN now or anything else they have to say.
Yeah.
So they begin to lose credibility with people who are rational thinkers, but it solidifies that well, I already hate Trump, so I'm just going to agree with, because that's what everybody's doing now. That's what social media has become for us.
Yeah.
It just reaffirms whatever crap we already believe.
And there isn't any news left. I don't think there's one news program left. I'll give Chris Wallace some credit. Fox News Sunday might be the one. But he's obviously a pretty conservative thinker.
And Rachel Maddow, of course.
Right. Yeah, he's cool.
Strong jawline.
Chris, yeah. I don't know how he gets his hair that way. It's pretty impressive. Nice texture.
A lot of gel.
Chris Matthews might be the one, but there's so few news programs out there anymore that aren't opinion.
Well, they're all
day long. It's
they're
just
opinion disguised as news too. Which
some of them, yeah.
I think most of them are.
It's all opinion on CNN. These people are legitimately mad and angry over God knows what every day of the week, just because Trump did it. It doesn't matter. If Trump did it, they're
Where I come
mad
from,
about
that's
it.
called a tantrum.
Right? Yeah, they pitch fits every day.
Okay, so if you, let's just say you're stuck with Trump, okay, for the duration, at least for a 4-year term, right?
Yeah.
Maybe, here's an idea. Maybe instead of reinforcing that bubble, maybe we change our tactic a little bit.
What?
And we try to find something to focus our energy on that doesn't piss everyone off. That's just a thought.
You'd be crazy.
I'd be crazy.
Well, it's a sad time, and I think really the big takeaway is that the media is culpable in it, despite they want to blame Trump so bad because they know they created the monster. The Leviathan that is the media that is attempting to rule your life is, it needs to die. It needs to be killed off. And my hope is that as we start to stream more, we're dropping cable. We're going to, pay per channel type packages. We're finding things online. We're consuming news through the internet more than anything else right now, specifically Facebook. My hope is that as that evolves, places like CNN and MSNBC will die out. And I'd like to see more citizen journalism where people are just, look, if we're only hearing your opinion anyway, at least it can be the opinion of a guy on the street with his cell phone.
A regular guy.
Yeah, and then I can watch as many of those as I feel like, and they can make their money through YouTube clicks and ads, and we're all happy, and that's the way. We got
to make their money from GE.
Yeah, exactly. And how funny is it that the media is so adamant about getting big money out of politics, but the media is not adamant about getting the big money out of media? Such a strange thing. So, and there's a great irony in the fact that if the media had been honestly critical of Barack Obama during his time in office, Hillary Clinton might well be president right now. Might very well have happened.
That's kind of my point.
No, it is. Yeah. That's kind of what I'm reflecting on is the fact that, if they had just done their duty, their job, they'd probably have their favorite person in office. And I don't think anybody is happier about what happened in Charlottesville than Hillary Clinton is. You call me crazy, but I'm pretty sure that if you had
talking about Reverend Clinton.
Yeah, Reverend Clinton. If we had to look around and decide who's happiest about what happened in Charlottesville, I do think Hillary is the winner because according to the Daily Wire, the Justice Department had just offered her a plea deal. So the discussion of a plea bargain took place late last month and was offered by a high-ranking Justice Department official to the Clinton lawyer. During the exploratory talks with the prosecutor, the Clinton attorney was told that despite former FBI Director James Comey's decision last July not to prosecute, the Justice Department has re-examined the case and believes there are ample grounds for prosecuting Hillary on a number of counts. Under the plea deal, Hillary would be required to sign a document admitting that she committed a prosecutable crime. In return, the DOJ would agree not to bring charges against her in connection with the email probe. You know, that at least would give her something else in common with Bill.
I was going to say he's probably the only person that's disappointed.
How so?
Because she's not going to jail. It'd be the easiest way to get rid of her.
Right.
He thought she was going to die a while back, and that didn't happen. So now he's like, well, maybe if she... Mr. Trump, you think you could put her in jail?
Never forget, old Bill left office on a plea deal to not be prosecuted in exchange for surrendering his law license and never running for office again. Don't forget it. All right, let's do Voda of the Week. Here's the appropriate backstory. Voda Consulting makes a video where this knucklehead, who I think is a fake Jamaican, like Miss Cleo or whatever her name was. I think he's as fake as her. Remember the Modest Mouse song? A fake Jamaican took every last time with that scam. That's Voda. And Voda has an instructional video up, and you can YouTube this. Just look for Voda Inc. INC. And he basically instructs his people. He's giving a class. That's probably the scariest part. Voda is giving a class.
I'm scared that people are still taking his classes.
Oh, man. He's giving a class. And he's telling people that if you're getting pulled over, here's what you do. Remove your firearm from its holster. Drop the mag in the passenger seat. And then clear the chamber and leave the slide locked to the rear and place it on the dashboard. I'm not kidding. Directly underneath the rearview mirror. I'd love to play the full audio, but it's not pertinent as much as the next audio is. And trust me, it's pretty golden. So there's a guy on Facebook. I can't remember his name.
I feel like I missed something. Why are we doing that again?
It's what he's telling his people to do, not get shot, I guess. I don't know. He's telling these people... So, if you're carrying a gun and you get pulled over, here's how to handle it.
First thing you do is draw your gun.
Yes.
Okay, all right. I just want to make sure we're on the same page.
So there's a few of these pages out there where it's like Cop Mike or Cop Steve or whatever, one of those guys. He picks it up and he says, you want to get shot? Because that's how you get shot. Like, no, don't do anything. You leave your hands on the steering wheel, and when the officer approaches, you say to him, hey, I have a firearm, and he'll find the firearm, and you'll be good to go. Don't pull your gun. It's going to make everybody nervous. It's not going to work out well. Trust me, trust me, trust me. And he pokes a little fun at old Voda. And then Voda, I mean, super butthurt. Like, just as butthurt as it gets. Here's Voda's response. And, I need to tell you something real fast. Voda, in this video that he recorded it from inside of his car, is eating a hash brown from McDonald's. You know how McDonald's does like the filet hash brown where it's one big like mesh of something? You know, it's not.
Yeah, it's something, all right.
It's like they take the potatoes and somehow magically turn them into a football, and they slide
feel like
it into
if you
the
have
paper.
it, like at your office, if you have like one of those companies that comes and shreds your paper, that's probably where they send it. They just soak that in grease, throw it in the fryer.
I'll tell you. Sidestep.
Serve it up for Voda.
I would sidestep and tell you I could eat Chick-fil-A hash browns all day, every day.
That's not the same, though.
So good. But
those
McDonald's,
don't taste like fry grease soaked computer paper.
So did the food change, or did we just get old? Because it's so good when you're young. Like McDonald's hash browns, I remember, man, my mom and dad used to take us, we'd get the big breakfast, they'd call it. And you get like 2 eggs, sausage, and a hash brown. It was so good. But anyway, all right. So here's Voda, and he's eating his big breakfast meal from McDonald's. And he's going to address the fact that so Voda makes a video on YouTube about how to handle being pulled over when you're armed. A police officer responds to that, and then Voda responds to the police officer with this.
From back in the day, people be held accountable for slander and, just talking shit against people they don't even fucking know. I'm not saying I'm going to do anything. I'm not. But I'm sharing you a story. That is police officer. They blew his fucking head off at a stoplight, left him slumped over his damn wheel.
So, to be clear, Voda has just said back in the day where he comes from, people will be dealt with for acting like this. One cop was found murdered, slumped over the wheel of his car.
That case still open. Never found the shooter. And that police officer, they followed him on to his damn house. They blew his head off and killed his damn son off his damn motorcycle. This is before I left to go to the military in Chicago. 47 people shot one weekend. And it was just because the weather got hot.
FYI, I edited down all the like harsh expletives, so if you feel like he's talking funny, some of it might be that.
I mean, he's talking funny, but I think that's mostly a mouthful of hash browns.
Oh, okay.
And I say this to say to you, in this age of social media, anybody can be found.
Anybody can be found.
Don't put... No, why would you run the risk of doing something like that? I'm in tennership. Again, I'm not threatening anybody.
Right.
I'm just stating the facts.
Oh, okay.
See me? I don't go around messing with people. Even if I disagree with whatever they do. If I don't like what person XYZ do,
This is great.
I don't waste my time making no video about this person.
What the hell's he doing right now?
I'm a grown f***ing man. I just share that with you.
Should have a dumbass off with James Yeager.
There's a lot of
See
people
who
around
wins.
this country with the state of law enforcement see it as a badge of honor, a rites of passage to take out a police officer. I would have never done no shit like that.
This is a guy. It's so funny. Here's a guy who knows what his real background is outside of professional hash brown champion eater, but he honestly.
This YouTube video brought to you by McDonald's.
Well, if you watch the full video, he does do that great thing where people are so disingenuous. You know, they do it in like Facebook status updates and everything where they go, "Yeah, I'm just taking a quick break, man. I've been up since 4." Okay. Yeah. So that's how his video starts. Where he
Don't
goes,
care.
He goes, "Yeah, I'm here in my car. Taking a little break because I've been up since 4. And what have you done?
Yeah, doing what?
I mean, did you run 6 miles? Did you lift some weights after your run? Did you swim the English Channel? Did you deal with 3 kids who all hate you? It's like so overtly it hurts your feelings every time you walk through the house? No, you probably didn't, okay? You're not me.
Did you know that Voda Consulting is a non-profit corporation?
I don't know anybody that would take his class, so that would make sense. If that guy's turning a profit, I'd love to see it. But so he does that disingenuous thing where here I am in my car, it's 4 o'clock in the morning, and he starts eating his hash brown. And then these, you know, obviously not even a veiled threat. He thinks that he's so cool and so tough and so well respected by the community that when he tells them, yeah, officers like that would be murdered where I come from, that somebody that follows him and loves him will go kill that cop. That's his hope. That's what he's wanting. Obviously, you should go find that video and report it. It's not up on our website. We just stole the audio from his because, you know, I think he's a jackass. But I will tell Voda, if he ever hears this, that I live and work in Greenville, South Carolina, and there's only so many gun stores. So come find me, man. I'd be glad to talk to you about it, you dumb man. What an idiot. What an absolute moron.
His website is a gold mine, by the way.
Yeah, and Voda, by the way, Voda, when you come and you try and draw on me, do that thing where you pull your knife at the same time, okay? Because I want you to have 2 weapons in
And
your
shoot
hand.
the ceiling.
Yeah.
Draw your knife, shoot the ceiling.
I want you to have 2 weapons in your hand when you go down. That's all I'm saying. Guy's going to throw barbs and threats at a police officer. And I don't really think he deserves too much
It
respect.
says on his website that he uses, this is how he teaches. It says he uses, I'm not gonna read the whole thing.
Yeah, just lay it on me, man.
Psychology, case management, physics, biomechanics, physiology, anthropology, medicine, case studies,
Why not?
quantum mechanics,
Of course.
chaotic social systems theory, which is trademarked. That's a proprietary thing. Chaotic social systems theory.
It reminds me of Lauren Southern. Did you see her video where they... Oh, my goodness. Forgot I still had the music up, and I went to VodaConsulting.com. He is so cool. Look at him, man. I love that they had to, like, pop his collar. Listen, if you're a single man or woman and you want to know how to tell that someone is fat or not, here's a telltale sign. Voda's got his collar popped up, dark shadows all around him, especially on one entire half of his face. The man is probably morbidly obese in real life. In fact, that's not even a guess. I've seen videos of him moving around. He's morbidly obese. So sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
I'm over it. I just wanted to talk about how he uses quantum mechanics to teach his classes. But what I did just do is send an email to him and ask him for a copy of his 501c3, since he is a nonprofit organization.
Lauren Southern is a conservative thinker, and she was banned from Patreon for being a conservative. And Patreon claimed in their letter to her that she was doing things that were going to get people killed. And so she posted a video and said, what does that even mean? And they responded with, we judge our, what do they call them? They call them clients. But anyway, basically, if you're going to use our website, we look at, and then they literally had this made up phrase that was something like quantum exemplified behavior. And these are things, and the CEO made a video. You can go look this up. I kid you not. Patreon's CEO, if you don't know what that is, that's a website where you can create content that people have to pay to see. So if you're getting big on YouTube and you want to make a little more money, then you open a Patreon account and people pay you $2-3 a month to get a little additional content from you on Patreon. But Patreon doesn't love conservatives. They really don't like conservative thinkers, and they don't like the firearms community all that much either. So you got to be careful with them. But my point is this. The CEO made the most awkward video ever. He tried to make it look like he was sitting in his computer talking from the heart. But not only is he obviously reading a script, he then suddenly is in a different room in a different outfit, continuing the same line of thought, and then back to the original room in front of his computer. It is
like a bad OK Go video.
First of all, there's no such thing as a bad OK.
No, I'm saying if he did it, it would be like a bad OK.
He tried to make an OK Go video, but he's not.
But their videos are awesome. I don't take anything away from them.
They're the best. Yes. So anyway, how did I get on all that? Yes. What was the phrase he used? Learned
social something stupid. I'm an idiot.
Social quantum mechanics or something. Here's his bio. The director of Voda Consulting represents over 15 years working in environments that range from medium to high risk. Well, that's cool. By the way, if you ever lived in a black neighborhood, he is a black man. If you ever lived in a black neighborhood, Michelle Obama would tell you it's high risk because she believes black neighborhoods are more dangerous than any other neighborhood in the country.
Chaotic social systems theory.
There it is. He worked in medium to high risk environments, includes working as a canine handler, tactical security officer in Chicago, Illinois, within various public housing units. Wait a second. He was the dude turning the dogs on black people? Is that what I just read? What a racist. He worked for the public railways and commercial business applications, which also include the use of canines for deployment of narcotic and bomb detection. So he didn't do anything. The dog was doing everything for this guy. He was a nutrition care specialist, cook, in the Army. He successfully graduated with a diploma in nutrition care, cook, from Fort Sam, Houston, Texas. What does that mean? Do you get degrees in the military? I was never in the military. Do you get a degree? What does that mean? Fort Sam, Houston, Texas?
I don't think that's how this works.
Anyway, other military training completed. United States Army Subversion and Espionage Training and the United States Army Operations Security Training, a.k.a. boot camp. What an idiot, man.
I bet he got a ribbon for taking the trash can out, another one for bringing the pail back.
I'll tell you this. I'm taking a Travis Haley class next week in North Carolina. And if there's room, I would pay for Voda to go with me, just so I could document his interactions with Travis and the guys around him. I think,
like, for Travis to keep telling it to put the knife back. No, you don't need to, Mr. Voda. I appreciate the effort. You're not going to need a knife for this portion of the.
If you're not familiar, this is a guy. This is how he's most infamous, I guess. And then we'll wrap it up. The most recent training video from this guy, he's teaching his followers to draw their gun from one side and their knife from the other at the same time. And so he's got all these videos, and in one, he's in a range, and he draws his gun and his knife, and he stabs the target, a paper target, right in front of him, and then literally shoots the ceiling of the shooting range immediately thereafter. He's a joke, and here's the thing. I'd leave him alone, except that he's now threatening people. and acting as if his people should go out and find this guy and distribute, street thuggish justice. And so Voda, again, 2 options. I'm in Greenville, South Carolina. I work in a gun store. Be happy to talk to you about it. In fact, here's what I would say. I'd love to spend a day on the range with Voda and just compare notes. But I get to film the whole thing. Yeah, bring a vest. He only shoots 15 yards in front of me. And we'll do it Jaeger style. I'll put him in a wheelchair. No, wait. I get the wheelchair.
Wait a second.
I get to sit in the wheelchair, and Voda goes 15 yards downrange, and I shoot past him. I trust myself. Don't worry. Jaeger does it with his
This is going to
people.
work out just fine.
Anyway.
I just noticed is apparently he's playing Tupac on his website when you go to it. And I don't remember.
I got hit with some Jay-Z.
I don't remember. Well, maybe he's got a sweet rotation going.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of rappers out there.
Hey,
so.
next time we get Mr. Vickers on the line, maybe we should talk to him about that.
Wait, Voda's in Fayetteville, North Carolina. Speaking of Vickers, they're basically neighbors. And I'm going to North Carolina to take my class. And his phone number's on the website. Do you think we could get Voda on for an honest-to-God interview and just troll him the whole time? Should we try and do that? Just let's get Voda. I'm going to send Voda an email. He'll never hear this otherwise. And that would actually be great. Is if we brought him on and he thought we were like, "Hey man, Voda's awesome. Like, tell us how you got where you
Get him
are."
to do a drop. So he introduces the Voda of the week.
Yes. We'll tell him it's about street heroes. So yeah, man. Anybody that uses self-defense to protect themselves, they're our Voda of the week. He's like, "Odd man. Yes, I record your..." I can't do accents. I don't know. I don't even know what that was.
That was pretty bad.
All right, anyway. Let's get... Seriously.
Tupac song just ended and R. Kelly came on.
Let's get Voda and just come up with a ton of questions to ask him and just act like we love him but troll him the whole time. And the best part will be that then he'll be like, "Hey man, I was on that podcast, man, and it was awesome. So I'm going to go back and listen to some older episodes." And then the next one he listens to, we trash him for 20 minutes at the end. That would be fantastic. All right, hey, listen, let's put a bow on it and be done, okay? FeltRecoilShow.com for more information on us, on the show itself, on any way we can help you. FoldsOfHonor.org, that's our charity of the week. They're paying for educational scholarships to the spouses and children of America's fallen heroes and the disabled as well. So visit foldsofhonor.org. We have a link up on our website as well. And a final thought on Charlottesville, just so you know, final thought. The whole point here is get out of the bubble. Turn the news off. Get outside. Okay? Go talk to your neighbors. As Rob Schneider so really eloquently said, and I mean that sincerely, if you talk to your neighbors and the people around you, you realize that you're in commerce and you're in contact with all sorts of races and ethnicities every day of the week. And none of those people hate you. And you don't hate them. They're just people like the rest of us. So calm down, take a breath, turn off the news, stop forming your opinion on social media, and we'll be all right. I promise you that. All right, until next time, we'll see you then on the Felt Recoil Podcast.